Oh my, oh my, oh my.
We are live.
Charles,
Well,
we
not
are
live.
live. We are well, we're live as best as we can get, right?
Mhm.
Welcome. This is episode I can't even keep track anymore, and I'm embarrassed. That's a good problem to have.
I was like, I don't know what he's gonna say because I don't know.
I should have it here somewhere. Hang on, we had episode 6. And then I think this is episode 7.
Oh wow.
I'm gonna make sure I put that. Yeah. Episode 7, everyone. If anybody's out there listening, of course. I hope so. I know it's been a while, so I apologize. I moved, and when you have kids and you move from one county to another, like luckily we didn't move to another state, so we moved from one frying pan into the other. We went from SoCal to NorCal, and I don't recommend that to anybody to sell a house and move. It is insane.
Just the concept of moving at all. I do not recommend people move.
No, just stay where you are. Don't change. Don't grow. All this nonsense from all these life coaches and all this stuff out there. Dude. Like, just do nothing.
It's so funny.
All right, so it's supposed to be 100 degrees where I'm at too.
Oh my gosh!
I'm working in my garage, and I can only work until about 2 p.m. Seems to be the sweet spot, especially on these hot days. So
yeah,
things come with their trade-offs. You know, it's a beautiful property that we're living on now, but yeah, it's hotter. A good like 15 degrees easily.
Dude, you gotta get a little AC unit in the garage, like the floor ones.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I want to renovate this whole thing. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's kind of cool just to. I'm gonna definitely make it my man cave this time. Last place we lived at, we converted it to a rental. Anybody out there in California, you know, it's ADUs, and attached dwelling unit is like the best kept secret in California. So, although I will say it didn't sell for as much as I had anticipated, I was kind of sold on the dream of the ADU, and I thought it would increase value tremendously. The lesson learned is don't sell a place with a renter occupying it, because most people want to know that person and they have no idea what your situation could be. And in California, it could be pretty tough. So, but I'm excited to chat today because we just had some pretty major announcements from Apple yesterday. I think we'll talk a good chunk of today on just all their latest releases. We were all waiting for Apple to do something. I think like 4 or 5 episodes ago, we were like, when is Apple going to make Siri not dumb? Right? So it sounds like they are on track to. They understand their audience for sure, right? So like they're definitely making incremental improvements. Like they're transitioning into the AI era, I would say, very cautiously and very, I think just like how Apple does it, like the right way, where everything ties into their ecosystem, you know, like, so I watched the whole thing, the whole keynote yesterday, and I even got some notes for today, like on some of these major releases. And of course, like as we all were hopeful for, there's a big impact to improving Siri. So just to kind of summarize some of these things that they released yesterday. Overall, the Apple Intelligence was really interesting.
Although, I was going to say, start off with that. The fact that they branded it themselves. It's still AI, but it's Apple Intelligence. It's so Apple. Yeah. So good.
It's so genius. It's so genius. So I like it. I was thinking like Smart Siri would have been more simple, but when everybody's talking about artificial intelligence all the time, it makes sense that they would. It's like I swear they partner with psychologists on this or something, but like it compartmentalizes it in your head as every time you hear and recall AI. You might even unconsciously recall Apple as a result.
Yeah. And I think also exactly like you just mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, Siri is dumb, right? And so Apple's saying, I don't want to associate it with Siri. Siri's a part of that, but Apple Intelligence is its own new thing. Yeah. And Siri is the agent at which can kind of interact with that. But Apple Intelligence is a separate product that is awesome and new and great. So I think it's very, very intentional from a marketing perspective that they did that.
That does make a lot of sense. They need to be new and fresh. That is a weird thing about humans, right? Like it could be an amazing product or service, and if you've been using it for 15 years or so, you know, you eventually just kind of get tired of it and want something fresh and new.
Totally. And there's just a lot of negative connotations with Siri because it can't do anything. Like, so it's so many. Yeah. So if they just said Siri intelligence or something like that, people would be like, yeah, how good is it actually going to be? That even if it was the same amount of cool, they would still put it on a lower bar because of its association with Siri.
Yeah, like it's become negative. It's just because it's dragged behind so much. That makes a lot of sense.
Dude.
So funny.
So good, man. I love this stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then they have Genmoji, which is
Genmoji.
That sounds really exciting. I can't tell you how many times I've been wanting to find an emoji that it's not in there, and apparently you'll be able to just like make your own. I don't remember if you could bank it into all of your emojis. I think you can.
I was asking the same thing myself, and I don't know if you can. They didn't say that, so I'm assuming at some point, but maybe they haven't like figured out the UI and the UX for it. So maybe they're like, okay, we'll figure that out. But it is cool. It's amazing that it shows up. It looks like an emoji. Like again, like I don't know. We can go on and on. There's things I want to talk about, but I don't know. I'm just impressed at how they've treated a bunch of this stuff.
I'll definitely share like a hang up in my wife's company when she does wildlife education boxes. Brought it up before. It's called Education.
Great. Subscribe now.
Subscribe now. Every month is a different endangered species for kids to just understand, become more aware of at an early age. 1 month was red panda, and we like to be a little cute at email campaigns and things, and like try to have an emoji of that animal whenever possible. But there's no red panda, so you have to use a panda. And I could be botching this, but I'm pretty sure like red pandas and pandas are hardly related or very distantly related.
Correct. I don't think that they are.
Yeah. So very different creatures, but it's called the red panda. I don't know because it somewhat, I guess, resembles like a regular panda. So then we've been having to use a panda emoji. And we're like, that's not animal PC. I don't know. So, but there's always been some others here and there. So I'm excited for that. I think that there will be like virtually limitless emojis you can create, especially on the fly. And I think I had seen that it is somewhat uses the same like render engine and UX experience like Image Playground, which is the next one, which was really cool. Did you get a chance to see that one? Where they've kind of reimagined how you prompt, and it's like a visual sort of like click or drag and drop prompter, and like I think it works off of like 3 key components. Like, oh, it was so unique. It's hard to describe audibly, so I'd recommend people go check that out. That sounds really cool because I do feel there's a lot of friction in typing or even speaking, and this is like a new sort of dimension they have created where it's like it just seems much more efficient to choose like 3 core themes or like focal points. I think is probably the best way to describe it, where you could say like cowboy, the setting, and like cowboy at an amusement park holding a slushie. It seems like they really understood that when compiling or like creating an image, a generative AI image, you want to it's like a story, almost like you're trying to make something unique in that sense, and it's usually like a setting, a character, right? And some kind of other added layer to that to create some sort of, I don't know, like storytelling, right? Like cowboys holding a slushie, it's melting on his hand. I don't know. So it just makes it a little more actionable. I just thought that was fascinating, and I can't wait to experiment with that and see where that goes. And I was saying that you could use the same image for creating images, but also generating Genmojis. And it's a very efficient way to do it on the fly, especially one-handed, which is really cool. Like I think you just kind of tap, 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 and like send something. So very excited for that.
I think it's very cool. I think Apple, in Apple fashion, has done what they do best. They've taken something that, like ChatGPT or any of these LLMs, these large language models, they've taken it and they've drastically simplified it. When you look at something like ChatGPT, right? What is it? It's completely open-ended, like so open-ended. And what does that do to people? It gives them choice fatigue. They can choose literally anything, infinite choices, infinite things they can create. And when you do that, it paralyzes people, especially it paralyzes us as creatives. Think about people who aren't really creative. They're like, oh my, I don't know. I don't know where to start. And so
Yes.
they've taken something that's so big and broad and open-ended. They've said, okay, well, how do humans create? Like,
Yeah.
how have we story told for so long, for so many years? How
Yep.
do we do that in film, in photography, and all these things? And they've extracted those core components, those fundamentals, and they said, great, we'll just extract it this way and we'll drastically simplify it, right? Like, even if it's setting, character, and style, the styles that they have, even right now, are very limited. They don't have
Yeah.
like 40 styles. They have like 10 or something from what
Yeah.
I can see in the keynote.
Yeah.
And
I
I
didn't
just
see like
think
too
that,
many.
yeah, it's incredible, man. That's like what Apple does best, is take things, simplify them to like a very human level, try and literally understand how people do things, and they
Mhm.
try and approach it that way and make it super fun. It's like
Yeah.
this bubble thing
Yeah.
that like
Yeah.
it's magical.
And
Very
I,
cool.
I feel like they took inspiration from what I remember in the initial release of Adobe's Firefly. I feel like
Mm, mm,
they definitely gathered some starting point inspiration from that because I think they nailed it a lot
yes.
on, at least the choosing styles part. Like I really love the UI they built around that. Like, and I think Apple made it even simpler, which is just what they do, right? Like they just know their culture is to just take things and make them absolutely minimally simple, perfect, basically. Like, I don't
Yep.
know what's the right word to epitomize all that, but it's
Yep.
just, oh my gosh, it's
Well,
great.
and they find use cases, like you were saying earlier, they find use cases within their ecosystem where it
Yes.
makes perfect sense. And also, that's another area that allows people to come up with the thing that they're wanting to come up with, because again, it's not just a side app that's like completely open. It's like, oh, within messages, you can like send an image to a person. And
Yes.
so that person reminds you of something. Oh, I
Yeah.
want to make them, and I want them to have a hat on because I think this is, and I love them. Like, it's the context. They've created so much context around these ways of creating images that isn't just they do have it. They have the Playground app, which is like completely open-ended, just do
Mhm.
whatever. But I think even within that, they have personal contexts, like
Yeah.
people that you talk with the most, things that you do the
Right.
most, like places you are. Yeah, it's
It's
incredible, dude.
it's funny because I remember what was his name, Craig Federline,
Federighi,
Federighi, there we go, which is
the hair.
I love the parkour they had in that yesterday. It's so funny of him just,
Hmm.
like, jumping around.
And
Uh,
did you see they intentionally, like the stunt double, they like intentionally made it so it's like, you
really bad.
clearly it's not Craig. Clearly
Yeah,
it's not Craig.
I think it was great. It was
Um,
very well done, very cheesy. They
it's so
really
good.
turned that guy into a cheese ball, but I read a lot about him. He's just become such a symbol of, like, that more
Yeah.
affluent Mac user, like,
Yeah.
uh, he's it's like he could be a really great stage replacement for Tim Cook one day, I think. He's definitely got
Yeah.
some finesse. He's funny.
Yeah.
But going back to, like, I remember them talking about context in especially in Mac OS, no, and iOS many years ago. And then it kind of went silent for a while. But they really brought back that, like, personal context discussion. I swear it was at least 5 years ago. But,
Mhm.
yeah, they're really doubling down on that, and I was even struggling with keeping up with that, like, how how much more iOS 18 especially, like, it's just gonna sense more and, like, context you're saying, and pull from and assume, like, what it is you're looking for. Like, I think that's what AI just blows my mind, and the whole, like,
Yes.
Apple Intelligence altogether is just how it, can assume for us is wild. Like, that
Dude,
is
that's what everybody has wanted.
yeah,
That's what
yeah,
everybody has wanted.
don't make me
And
think,
it,
right? So
dude, no, and it's like Apple knew. It's like they knew that they're like, oh, all these players are going to come out in the landscape, but they're all just going to be massively open-ended AI things that gather like everything that's been on the internet or whatever, but there's no personal context. And they were like, we are only doing personal context. We're only
yeah,
going to do things. I mean, the examples too, which was like, oh, hey, send Julie the photos of herself in Paris with the pink coat on. Like, dude, that's the stuff that we've wanted for so long.
I
Like, that's,
know, to
oh
dive
my
into
gosh.
photos that easily.
Yeah.
I
Or even there was one more too. Sorry. There's one
That
more
was
where
okay. Yeah, okay.
she was on messages
Mhm.
and she was like, oh, add this new address to Colin's contact card. Cause she was talking to Colin and Colin sent an address in the text and it's aware. It has screen, I think it was called screen aware or something like that.
Uh-huh.
But basically whatever is in the screen at that moment it'll scan it, look for it based on the thing you said, and then do something with it. The whole rabbit large action model, they've done it.
Yeah,
Like Apple.
they got the whole stack, man. They do hardware,
Dude.
software, everything. Like they can do
Yeah.
anything they can possibly want. This, I think, is where Apple will truly shine. In all the decades they've been building this ecosystem, and they know it. And they're probably just getting started on AI chips too. Like they're gonna just absolutely destroy it in a lot of ways. You reminded me of another instance when they were showing like contextual aware, like when you're filling out a form, and I think there was the filling out your driver's license. And so many times, like I've had to go into my photos and look for my driver's license, and it's like, oh, you were gonna go there? Let's reduce like 13 steps of friction, and just here's an image of your driver's license. We pulled from your images. Here, we're gonna also extract the number from it. It's a little creepy, but I love it at the same time.
I love it. I love it.
And we're just gonna input that for you because you probably intended to do that too. Like I cannot believe where the world is going in that regard. So they're just like whatever they're doing right in reducing friction, using AI is like it is blowing my mind. So to remind everybody, like UX, at least what I've been focusing on in UX is I work with clients and like try to find the ways to reduce friction. And now I feel like I have to start to work in AI in ways to do so, right? Like all this contextually aware stuff, I feel like it's like kind of the next important pillar of design, really. Like it is something so fundamental, so needed in where our careers are evolving. You know, especially like we look towards more becoming strategists. I just think that we need to figure out how to work in AI in this kind of way. I just can't even believe it. Well, also, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, also what blew me away was I was thinking a lot of the time. This is like the last 30 minutes of the keynote. I was thinking a lot, like how is ChatGPT gonna react to all this? And then they surprise us and say, "Oh yeah, we also integrate with ChatGPT 4.0, the latest version. Whenever Siri can't answer it, which right now is like 99% of the time. But it's like we'll let you piece the rest together with ChatGPT 4. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. So I imagine they're just smart because Apple's obviously chosen not to reinvent the wheel with search engine, right? I just saw like I took note before this that they paid about $20 billion to Google to make, or sorry, Google paid them. Google paid Apple, to 20 billion roughly in 2022 to be the default search engine in Safari. I think on both platforms, on both the desktop or Mac OS and iOS, but definitely iOS.
Dude,
and that's insane. So I imagine OpenAI cut some kind of a deal, and they worked out some kind of a deal where ChatGPT becomes an easy supplement to where, and they called it world knowledge. I thought that was very interesting. And like Siri and Apple Intelligence is more the local knowledge on your device that doesn't leave it. It's really cool. And I think also like maybe Apple is just not quite ready to be accountable for all that chaos and controversy and what ChatGPT is now being notorious for having scraped. Right? Like they scraped all over the world, and I was reading even like they scraped hundreds or no, like millions of books, right? At least hundreds of thousands of books that they use to train their model. And yeah, Apple's very smart, and like why should we try to totally create our own version of ChatGPT when there's already a fantastic solution out there? And clearly they didn't want to use Gemini yet. It's still probably fairly new, and they already have a nice relationship with Google, and they're probably diversifying their relationships, not putting all their eggs in one basket. So I think that that move to have ChatGPT be able to answer wherever Siri can't now finally makes Siri smart. It just reminds me again, like what that whole not Harrison Ford. Oh my gosh, Ford vehicles. Henry Ford, correct? Henry Ford, he would make claims like he's like one of the smartest people in the world, and then I recall a story of a reporter going to visit him and saying like, prove it how you think you're one of the smartest people in the world. And he said, okay, ask me any question. And this does provide some sort of story around Siri. Ask me any question you want. And then they say, okay, well, how does this part of the V8 engine work or whatever? All he does is call his top engineer on the phone and say, how does this work? So this is like a great example of how Siri has now asserted itself into this higher form of intelligence with their own local and contextual aware OS driven AI, the Apple Intelligence, I guess they call it. And then also just again, like being able to answer just about anything by just phoning a friend, good old chat GPT, which I personally absolutely love using. And my wife uses it multiple times a day, every day.
Yeah.
I can't ask her a question without her consulting chat GPT. It's absolutely nuts.
Yeah. 100%.
So,
dude,
like,
it's
great tool.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I think like a few things like ChatGPT kind of extension is awesome. They're still obviously super concerned with privacy. So they're like, hey, we're not sure. We want to send this to ChatGPT. Is that cool? I think that like that obviously having that like barrier to entry into ChatGPT is cool. Just so they're like,
yeah,
telling you that the two experiences are different. It's like giving you a signal.
Don't blame us if it messes things up for you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I also think that it's been a multi-year, probably like, I don't even know, 5 to 10 years marketing play, why they always say on device. Like this thing is happening on device, on device, on device. Because back then when some type of intelligence thing or smart thing is happening, you know, they would say on device to make sure, you know, it's like it is not going somewhere to figure that out and then coming back where it can be interrupted or, you know, I forgot what that's called when football, you throw it and intercepted. It can't get intercepted and then your information get taken, but it actually happens locally on the device because now we're at a point where exactly like you were saying, it can pull up my driver's license. It can pull out the number. It can inject it into the thing. And so I think that they've constantly been drilling that into our head. Hey, like anytime this stuff happens, it's not going somewhere. It's not ChatGPTing it. It's not going somewhere, figuring it out and then coming back. It's literally happening all on your device. So you don't have to worry. When that stuff happens, it feels a little strange, but it's all happening in your hand. Like nothing, there's nothing strange about it. And I think that that's just been, again, like that's Apple's foresight. That's someone there at the company being like, hey, we have this coming up in 10 years. We need to start talking about it like this now so people trust us. Like, unbelievable, dude.
Yeah. And oh, man, I just lost my train of thought on that.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. No worries. It happens to the best of us. Well, maybe it'll come back to me. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One more thing too. You got me thinking, and you were saying, I don't know what you were saying, but it made me think of it. How we kind of put this into work and stuff now. Not necessarily for me in the design side, but how do we approach it? But also for our own work. Like they're doing like priority notifications now. They're trying to show you basically on your phone what is actually the most important to you. That's something for Josh and I, especially as people who have pretty bad ADHD. Like me knowing, here's a text message, here's an email, here's a thing that says like, hey, we got to do this by tomorrow. Hey, don't forget I need the reservation by Thursday. Hey, don't, like knowing those things and those things floating to the top as we all have like so many things going on and so many tasks, that is going to be like, I hope that it works as well as it feels like it's going to work, because that will, I think, change so many people's lives and how efficient they are and productive they are. Because I almost at this point, so many notifications I kind of ignore. And I try and turn on ones that will make it make it so that when I see it, I go, oh yeah, that's an important notification. But it's still hard in today's system. So
and that's even got to be trained on your own device over time, right? To have a surface like your own algorithm sort of a thing. And okay, I remember now where I was going with the whole local. You were talking about the local computing, and it reminds me of like the stories you hear about how much computing power it takes to just to facilitate all of the information exchange. And what's crazy, like you hear about NVIDIA is exploding. I think they're more valuable than Apple now. Like, and they're probably just still getting started. Like this, I feel like they're gonna just be like 2 or 3 times more valuable than any other company in the near future. It's just crazy. Don't take my stock trading advice or anything, everybody. I just have a good hunch.
It's not financial advice. It's not financial advice.
Yeah. Full disclosure. Charles is the financial one. You should be liable. But yeah, so like it again makes me feel like there's just absolute genius people working on making the device so efficient. And this is again where Apple shines, is that they have hardware and software married together, and they can do just about anything they want, and they make their chips. And so like I just got an M2 chip computer finally. I had Intel before, and I see
Yeah.
such a difference on performance and also just temperature control. Like, so I think that they're on a good track where they are one of the only ones here who can do this. I mean, maybe Google, I think maybe Android can do this. I don't know, but so far I'm not hearing too much about local driven data exchange,
100%.
right? So,
Yep.
um, so yeah, kudos to them. They have quite a bit to go in the sense of developing that technology even more to accommodate the rapidly changing AI demands, and how to keep that local. I don't know. I think eventually they're going to have to make some kind of exception, or they're going to have to, use iCloud servers or something, to outsource some data. I just cannot imagine. It's just changing so much the demand for it. I don't know. Perhaps they've made it where it's very, very minimal impact on overall resources in the phone.
You think that they'll need to do so? I think one of the reasons why they can probably do it in the phone now is because all of it is just your own context and not it's basically like looking at your world and showing and them understanding, okay, when something says need tomorrow, like that's like not even a personal context. That's just like we understand how timing works and how language works and stuff like that. And so they have like this foundational layer of, whatever they've branded it as that understands that context. So yeah, I'm curious. I feel like it might, well, I don't know. The chips obviously are just going to get greater and greater over time too. And so maybe that local context is able to be maintained, but they have the compute cloud. Is that what it's called? I
didn't look too much into that one.
Okay, so that is a thing where it actually does go up, and they have servers that do compute some level of data analysis. They're doing it, but they've someone had mentioned, I think I had seen a tweet or something, that there was like an inordinate amount of engineering effort to make sure that when it goes up there and goes into the cloud or whatever, that it's like completely shielded and private. Like, they obviously they talked about it for like 10 minutes or something like that. Craig did, but yeah, it's like the same. I don't know. And I don't know, like at an engineering level, I'm very curious what the level of security is, because obviously on device is going to be it's like no one can get it unless they have your phone in their hand, which I'm sure they've even figured out some of that stuff. But yeah, I'm curious the security level, but I don't know. Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Let's also talk about how Apple doesn't do everything right. Okay. They now give you control to do dark look for icons. I was looking into this and I was like, gross. What the heck is this? So let me, I had it. Hang on. I must have scrolled past it here. Hang on. I'm on their website. One sec. So it says new look for app icons. App icons and widgets appear even sleeker with a new dark look. And what is so odd about this is that it can make the user has that control to make it really ugly, and I don't get it. I mean, maybe this could be used for accessibility reasons, like if you have a certain chromatic disorder, like I guess in your eyes, like maybe you can't see certain colors, and maybe the standard app icons aren't working. There's those folks, like some people they have issues, like they don't have the red cones, or they don't have the blue cones or green cones, or a combination of like no blue or green in their eyes, I guess. And they struggle with seeing certain colors. So perhaps, I don't know, maybe this allows the user to shift it to a certain monochromatic, like that monochromatic view that makes it I guess work for, in certain use cases where they have certain cones are missing in their eyes. Okay. So that's cool, but I just feel like too many people having this control, it's gonna make the phones look so ugly. So I'm looking right now on their website, and it's like all the icons have now been shifted to this blue on black. And I don't know. Perhaps that's more fun for people to navigate. I feel like I'll struggle. Do you see what I'm looking at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's like two what is it called? Something of thought. Two
schools of thought.
What?
Schools of thought?
Yeah, two schools of thought. I think one is, and it's not really two schools of thought. There's does everything need to stay, super beautiful and be this level of polish, or does Apple need to start to enter into things that might cause some non-beauty in the world, but also I think it's almost like a shareholder discussion, because
Yeah.
people read a tweet that was like, everyone look at everyone's, like, any 15-year-old's phone, and like you'll start to understand like why they made this decision,
Oh, okay.
because like because of the level of customization. Like I feel like it could be like a kid move, basically, like a
Yeah.
teenager or whatever, that people can really customize it. So I don't know, maybe they're trying to like, it sounds really the way I'm saying this, but they're trying to like scrape up all these users that like
Mhm.
normally would be Android users and can customize it, right? That's like the last thing I feel like that everyone's like, well, on Android, I can customize everything. Well, now you can take the icons, you can place them wherever you want on the phone. That
Yeah.
was an Android feature. You can take them, you can color them whatever way you want to. That
Yeah.
was an Android feature. Like, so yeah, I don't know. I'm still not like sold on it. Or I guess I'm at the point now where I'm like, there's going to be times where it's okay if something like this happens. I guess I get it, because for the business, this is a big move. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it can't show up in marketing that often, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know,
But
unless it's like perfectly placed.
maybe the more I look at it, is it does start to grow on me a little bit in the sense of there's not as many colors competing for your attention. And this reminds me of iconography.
Yeah.
Generally, it's been very like one color, maybe two colors. Only the best iconographers do like a balance of three, maybe four colors, right? Like, but like once you just get a little too complex with too many colors, well, then it kind of defeats the purpose of iconography, in my opinion. Is you're starting to just be graphical at that point. And I think that where this seems to kind of work, except this actual image in front of me on their website, where it's like blue, the dark blue on black is like kind of killing me inside with no like lacking contrast, but I can see how it could make it a bit more efficient to navigate if the colors are mostly removed and competing for attention. But what's hard for me is we remember and see in color like much more than other forms reading, or like we just see in color first just about
Yeah.
every time. Like our brains just
Yeah.
pick up on it faster. And so folks like myself, super used to using the multicolored UI or the OS look, I guess, in the sense like the home screen. I would probably struggle with the moving towards this, but perhaps it could work pretty well with good contrast, and you're kind of instead just looking for shapes like iconography, right? You're looking for the shapes that make sense right away and connect. So yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe they're onto something. It is
I don't know.
debatable for sure,
And
right?
it,
It's
and,
like,
and like you're saying
yeah,
too, it's not like, it might not be a genius move. Like, it might not be like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
something crazier is happening behind the scenes. Like, I don't know. It might be because Steve Jobs isn't there and he wasn't able to be like, no, we're
yeah,
not doing that.
yeah, yeah.
He might have suggested, let's give developers a way that their icons can be tinted somehow, but it can still totally feel like their own icon. I don't know, that
Yeah.
there could have been maybe a more complex way to do this. It's still pretty impressive, because essentially what they're doing is, if anyone is familiar with Photoshop or Illustrator or any of these design tools, is they're essentially applying like a color layer on top, and then they're applying a blend mode to it. So
Mhm.
they're, the way that you would use multiply or overlay or whatever, they're applying this blending mode, which takes the contrast, shadows, lighting from the image, but allows the color on top, the color layer, to saturate the icon and make it primarily that color. So this is like a lot of stuff that they wouldn't have been able to do. I don't even know, maybe 5 years ago or something, because it would have taken way too much compute power to do
Mhm.
so. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just wait until they can do it in a way where there is a sense of unification. It is
Mhm.
actually, because what Android has done, I think most of the time, is you're replacing the icons entirely. You're
Yeah,
not you're not actually tinting it. It's not any system computation. It's just they're replacing the image with something different. And when they do that, you end up having a lot of inconsistency too. And that was a big thing that I think Apple wanted to avoid. Someone had mentioned on a tweet that they were like, look, this is what used to happen in my Android phone. All the icons were replaced except for like 2. And the 2 were like this green and purple. So it just looked like it was broken. And so, yeah.
Now I'm thinking that this is probably the starting point of using generative AI to change your icons altogether using thematic focal points. Kind of, I bet there'll be some kind of other Gen AI dimension to this eventually. Maybe they just start playing around with just colors for now and kind of seeing if a lot of people are into this before they probably decide to flesh it out more to more control. Because that's what I'm seeing is like I remember using like Windows 95, 98 and like wanting to change the cursor and all kinds of things. And my son, I already see he does it on his computer. He's like, look, Dad, it changed the cursor. I'm like, oh, okay, people still do that, right? All right. So it makes sense. I bet they'll make it so you can just update every icon, whether it's the proprietary OS ones and third-party icons, and allow the user to probably create a whole different theme look altogether. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
it's pretty
at
cool.
first it was jarring, but as a designer, like we have to still be open-minded and always look for the silver lining in function when there is something such a jarring change like this. So
totally. Oh, dude, I love this tweet. A new look, new functionality. I can't be alone in feeling like it would have been the perfect time to rebrand and get rid of the Siri name and all of its unfortunate baggage. I think, but I think that's what they did. Like in a way, I think they just they compartmentalized it. Like you said, they said Siri is an agent. Siri is something that goes and it can like use the intelligence. So Siri is still good at what it's good at, I guess. It like listening to you, whatever, talking back to you, right? It's like it's almost like they made it a voice. They're like, it's just a voice for the Apple intelligence. That's all.
Yes, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe they're gonna let you personalize Siri and like humanize Siri and call Siri a different name.
Dude,
I wouldn't be surprised if they let you do that.
I want them to get the like. It won't be the ChatGPT. They'll do their own, I'm sure. But the new voices that they have on ChatGPT, which I haven't gotten access to yet. I really want to try it.
I'm gonna name my Charles just to mess with you. I'll be like, Charles, give me this, or tell me a funny joke, Charles.
Come sit with thine, dude. Yeah, those voices.
Only talk back to me in old English,
dude. So crazy, man. So crazy. Gosh. Oh, speaking of this is this is a separate topic, but my friend Mac also works at Apple, and this was a while ago when the dynamic island stuff came out on the phones, and he did a video. Like they have all these amazing developer videos. I don't know if you've ever seen those before, but like when WWDC happens, they release all these videos that developers can follow that talk about specific features or new things in iOS. And then they and dude, talk about inspiration for, well, it's like no one can achieve this basically, but inspiration for creating a course, because it sounds incredible. Like what they're wearing is incredible. Like what he was wearing, how he was speaking, what his hand gestures were, like all of it obviously is just like PR media trained. The room is perfectly lit. There's beautiful warm woods around, leather chair, like just everything. It's so cool, dude. We'll have to like watch like a couple seconds of one on the podcast at some point, but it's rad.
Cool, man. Yeah, anytime.
They're very, very
bring
cool.
that clip.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, and then there was another thing with swap out. So like more customization on the control center, I think was really cool. And then the swapping out lock screen icons. These are like little things, I guess, that I just thought were awesome. Sometimes it's the little things that really stand out, but just like, in your lock screen, you can like take a photo, or, what was the other one? Perhaps like show notifications or something, but you can swap those out entirely with something else. So you can definitely customize the control center a lot more. And besides using AI, I think that's a very efficient means of navigating and doing common actions on your phone. So I think that's another gray area to reduce friction. And so my overall takeaway from these announcements was, just really personalizing much more than ever. And I know Apple has been a lot about personalizing, but
Yep.
You could just kind of see it with how you can personalize. Oh gosh, I didn't even like generative like images and emojis and your control center and everything. And like, it just feels like they are empowering people to make it very, very unique, much more than ever. And that's, well, I think about it more like they haven't really been that kind of company for a long time. They've always been like, here, we're giving you the simple tools. We're making it simple and hardly much you can customize because we just feel like this will work for most people. And then usually it's been a smash hit.
Yep.
But yeah, so this is very interesting. It's kind of like a Windows-esque, Android-esque sort of more control in making things much more customized and everything. And I think they'll use AI in the future in a tasteful fashion like they always have. So kind of like a hybridized, tasteful Apple with a lot of customizability. That's my takeaway.
Dude. Yeah. I think it's gonna be really cool. I'm excited for level of personalization. It's what I've wanted in any product. It's also just interesting how over time too it felt more and more uncomfortable to have a really incredibly powerful phone and like even software, but not have that level of personalization yet. And so like you just start to feel like, oh, when is this coming, man? When is this coming? And then AI comes out and you're like, it has to be around the corner. It has to be. Now we have like these things able to do a lot. So yeah, I'm really excited about it.
The AI I'm dying for, and I almost want to time this with Figma's config conference. I'm dying for Figma to really, really take it up a notch because, yeah, there's some third-party tools that do AI and stuff, but like plugins and whatnot. I just feel something's so much missing. There's so much missing in Figma. I love that it has so much control, but there's a lot missing in the sense of like using AI to do like prompting of components, right? Oh, there was another company. I can't remember if I brought this up on the last podcast episode, but there was. Oh, I have it here somewhere. V0. I'm probably botching this, but V0 by Vercel. Vercel is what's the best way to describe them? Meta framework, I believe. And let me know if I'm wrong, anybody. I'm trying my best to learn tech stacks as a designer, and it's like it's like learning Chinese from English. Like actually, I would say learning English, which is a harder language. So I've heard. Like English is very weird. But anyways, this tool is if you go to v0.dev, this should bring up this prompting engine for creating UI. And I think you can certainly use it for building components. I would love to see Figma have something like this. So it's like version 0, I guess is kind of like the name I'm picking up here. But play around with it if you haven't, Charles, before. But like, yeah, you can prompt like a basic UI to get started from. Another one comes to mind is, okay, I think this is the way it's pronounced. Wizard. And it's UI Zard. Like
Wizard.
Like people are like UI Zard. I think they still try to pronounce it Wizard. And that one I've actually tried and dabbled with it. It's a really great way to also get started on UI. And I tried dabbling with like MUI for a client, which is the material UI library and design system that I thought this other tool Wizard could do, but it did it really poorly. And I've also experimented with like generative AI content, like ad content platforms. I don't even want to say the name of this one because it like somehow captured my credit card and billed me, even though it said it wouldn't. So I'm not even going to say their name because I was really upset about that. But there is a tool out there that is advertising like crazy that can also do this, but it's also poorly done again. So we're still at this like really beginning stages of really truly like business applicable generative AI in the visual sense. And but I really want Figma to nail that. And they got the funds and the resources, I think, to do so. And we'll see what they come up with. If they don't have some kind of prompting engine announced the end of this month, I'm gonna be pretty upset. I don't know about you, man. I'm like, I will be highly open to another disrupting tool then if they do not do that. When is config, by the way? We should let any designers know about that.
June. It's this month.
Yeah.
I don't know if it already happened or if it's at the end of the month.
It's at the end of the month, June 26th through the 27th. I think this is like one of the most important things for us designers to watch and listen to. Last year they announced dev mode, which I think is like such a huge game changer. Although I will say a lot of developers have yet to use it and are still developing on facsimile, which drives me absolutely bonkers. But the dev mode is obviously a really cool way to become a more unified product team. So I'm encouraging any devs I work with to use that and hand off. And I have no idea how much they're actually using it. All I know is that what gets produced, what goes to production, is still not exactly what I designed, not even close. I don't know if you get that or what, too, but it's like the bane of my existence.
Yeah, I know. I feel like with Figma stuff, especially the thing I'm looking for. So they acquired a company called I want to say it's called Diagram, and it was this guy named Jordan Singer, and I don't know if he had a team with him or what, but they were developing like AI UI tools. Like, and some of the things that they showed, it was a prototype or an animation. So it wasn't actually, sorry, when I say prototype, it was like, it looked like it was made in After Effects. Like it wasn't a real working demo of it.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, from that perspective, it was wild. Like you could see they were like, make a screen for a pizza company with an add to cart button, image list, and and it was just like boop, 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 and it like would make it and stuff.
What's the name of that tool again?
Diagram.
Yeah, it reminds me of Reloom. A similar tool also. I think that you can do like, at least you can get a sitemap rolling and several pages for a website and just using a prompting engine. I haven't used it in the past few months though. It was more novelty when I tried it like 6 months ago.
Yeah. Dude, listen to this. Like their tools are called Magician, Genius, Automator, and UI AI. So like these were all
oh man, I gotta see this.
Yeah, check it out. What's the URL? It's diagram.com. Holy crap, they have the actual URL. That's insane.
That is pretty insane. How do you get down? Man, you must have some funding.
Yeah. Well, now they're acquired by Figma, so maybe they bought it after the fact. I don't know.
Well, tab opened, and I might get to it.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah,
it's like
pretty good at my tabs. I gotta brag. I don't usually get more than 40.
Holy.
I know people who like, you can't even tell what every tab is. It's just the icon because they have like 70 tabs open. You're not like that, are you, Charles?
Oh, I literally, here, let me show you how many tabs. I'm not gonna show you, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 tabs?
Yeah.
Oh, you're good about it.
Oh yeah, dude. I hate having when I see someone's computer get like that, it gives me so much anxiety.
Yeah. So that's why I just use about it. I'm generally pretty good about it. So it's kind of like my to-do. I'll check out after this call. Okay,
yeah,
so
it's cool.
I just haven't heard of this one then. Okay. All right. But again, it's like a third-party tool that I wish Figma would, do a better job with inside Figma. Buy a few companies. I haven't heard of any acquisitions or anything other than their big one to Adobe falling through, but I haven't really heard of too much going on with what they're doing to enhance their tools. I hope we'll see.
Yeah. So they bought this one when they acquired them. How long ago?
Oh, they did acquire Diagram. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
no. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
I must not have heard that part. Okay.
No worries. Yeah, they acquired them.
When was this?
It had to have been over a year ago, a year or two or something. So yeah, they've been working there for a while. So I don't know. Maybe they're just maybe they're trying to come up with something huge, or I don't know. I'm not.
Awesome, man. Awesome. All right. Well, we got a lot of good stuff that we talked about today. And so everybody check out Figma Config later this month. Probably one of the most important conferences for designers, especially because it's the #1 go-to tool for designers. I would still love to see a disruptor. I always love it. But anything else to add for today, Charles? Otherwise, we wrap this thing up.
No, I think we're good, man.
Awesome.
Good chatting.
Yeah. Very, very cool stuff today, man. I really appreciate it. It's always great to get on these calls with you. And anybody out there, if you ever have any requests, any kind of content you'd love to hear about, have us talk about, we could talk about how insane it is to work in product teams or whatever you guys want to hear. Charles and I have a lot of experience. We've been there, done that. I think we combined, we got 20, 30, 40 years experience. certainly in the decades. So if anybody ever wants to hear anything cool about tech or design, we'd love to expand on that. So, and thank you for listening and or watching. If you're watching this on YouTube or even Spotify, listening or watching on there, or on Apple Podcasts, really appreciate everybody supporting us, and looking forward to more.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks,
Have
Charles.
a great day, dude.
All right, man. You too.
Yeah.
See you around. All right, bye.